Hi. Weird news. We have a birth time for Travis Kelce. He's Virgo rising. That I when I saw it, I thought, oh, okay, this makes sense. This chart makes sense to me. But looking at this chart, I have some questions given the transits that he has had and then the transits that he will have. So that's what I want to do today. Let's do it. But first and foremost, we need to go back to 2023 because that's when everything started. I'm going the slow way, but I want to make sure that we get there. Okay, so here we are in 2023. And what do you see? Several things. In fact, let's take it out of summer, even though this started in summer. Let's take it out of summer into fall because it brings it into more full relief. So the chart ruler when you're Virgo rising is Mercury. Where's Mercury? The first house. This, by the way, is a first house that screams, I have a strong personality. With, your chart ruler in the first house as well as the sun and Mars. Personality. The guy's got he does. But chart ruler in the first house, which is you, is being opposed by the seventh house ruler, which when you're Virgo rising is Neptune in the seventh house. So that's as pure as it gets. When your seventh house ruler is opposing your first house ruler, you meet someone. When your seventh house ruler is Neptune, you meet someone who it's just like baffling. Like it doesn't matter who you are really, because when you have an opposition from Neptune, you're disoriented. And especially to your chart ruler. It's something, if you have Neptune conjunct your chart ruler, Neptune opposite your chart ruler, Neptune square your chart ruler, you're disoriented. We can guess what this man was disoriented by, right? All of a sudden you're in a very, very different scenario and environment in a very quick amount of time, right? The danger for someone with a chart like this and Neptune ruling the descendant, so a Pisces descendant, is knowing exactly who you're dealing with. So there's always projection when our seventh house is involved, regardless of who you are. But the Virgo risings have a much taller order because their descendant is ruled by Neptune. There can be idealization, there can be victim-savior dynamics, there can be religious dynamics, because both Pisces and Sagittarius love them some religion. So, and that's not a knock on anything, I'm just saying it to say it. And there can be losers. Again, just saying it to say it. So you, especially when Neptune is involved, and I said this to somebody a couple weeks ago who's having a Neptune transit and she's just meeting losers, like, and was complaining about that. And I was like, yeah, that Neptune does that. So you can meet somebody who's like larger than life, too good to be true, too weak to function, a giant loser, like someone who steps off a billboard. It's just with the Pisces and Neptune situation, there's distortion and you don't know who you're dealing with, at least not immediately, and at least not until the Neptune transit wears off. But it is possible that the entire time that Neptune is in your seventh house, you are not seeing clearly who you are dealing with. Hold on. Sorry. So I think that is fascinating. Do I personally know what Travis Kelce's exact experience was? Absolutely not. But I'm just putting it out there like this makes perfect sense. That if you were gonna meet somebody who's like totally different from anyone who you've ever dated, and they have like they're on a, I believe I called it back then, world domination tour, right? Like that fits. To add to that, Venus was being sextiled by Pluto, and Pluto is transiting the fifth house. The fifth house has to do with matters of the heart. Venus has to do with matters of the heart and desire, right? So this is another transit that says a different version of the same thing, of you meet someone who's transformative to your love life, because Pluto transforms whatever it touches. So when Pluto is done Plutoing, whatever it was transiting is very different from the way that it was when Pluto found it. And so in this case, again, that's pretty straightforward, right? Like we saw that. Then this is still kind of happening now, although it's wearing off. Uranus from the ninth house is opposing Venus. That happened a little bit later. We gotta move time. So yeah, now in 2024, we've moved time a little bit. And so Uranus here opposing Venus. So that is kind of a more jarring, like, wow, this person is really different from me, or this person is still on a world domination tour, because in the ninth house, you're dealing with things that are foreign or far away. And so that, again, you can kind of fill in the blanks there of probably what was happening. Now the North Node is in the seventh house, which is really good for partnering with someone. But, oh, what's happening here? Saturn's moving. Well, there we go. Saturn moves into the seventh house, and that's where things get real. Quite literally. But now look how packed this seventh house is. At least, this is spring of this year. We've got Neptune. Venus was retrograde in it. The North Node was in it. Saturn was in it. That's a traffic jam. Let me clear it up a little bit because we're still in the past. Now we're on today. And Saturn and Neptune are together in the seventh house. What does that mean? Well, I don't want to guess because that's not nice. And because this Saturn-Neptune conjunction makes it pretty impossible to guess what is going to happen next because it's such a distortion field. But most of us are stressed right now. Most of us have some area of life that's just stressful as all get out. And I'm not going to project this onto Travis Kelce, or maybe I will just a little bit. But wherever the Saturn-Neptune conjunction is in your chart, there's a decent chance that you're stressed out unless this is doing nothing but nice and gangbusters stuff. Which, okay, so Saturn is trine Venus. That's nice. Neptune was doing that and has moved off of that, which I skipped over. But that's nice. And that's just like more of like the pleasant, like, oh, love, nice. But honestly, sextiles and trines from Neptune, not super noticeable. Squares, oppositions, conjunctions, very noticeable. With sextiles and trines from Neptune, especially if you're not somebody who's like super intuitive, you just get like a boost, and like rising tides lift all boats. It's that kind of vibe, basically. But, so like, not so bad for Venus, but not so great for Uranus. So this is where things start to get a little bit dicey for Travis Kelce, but I'm stepping on my own point. There is a chance that one-to-one partnership right now is stressful as all get out, due to the fact of the Saturn-Neptune conjunction, because it happens to be in his seventh house. Do I know? Absolutely not. I don't know his life. But, so like, it's almost done doing nice things to Venus. He got engaged over the summer. That's nice, right? But here's where it gets weird for me. Just looking at this chart and looking at these transits. So I eyeballed it and then I looked over the grid, which I can see and you can't, just the way that I have my screen, to see what friendly transits this man has for the next year or so. And I didn't find a lot. And so that kind of sets off alarm bells in my head, right? Because Uranus is pretty much done opposing this Venus. Maybe he'll feel it in February, March, but it's like a degree off. So like maybe when it stations, but that's not super dramatic. But then Neptune is squaring Uranus, natal Uranus, and that brings the 7th house and the 6th house together in a harsh way. And I think that we're seeing this, like 6th house is day-to-day work and then also health. And Saturn, which involves the 5th house, it rules the 5th house, is also making that square. So that seems to me like probably a career decision. Like if he was gonna retire from the NFL, it would probably be around this time, right? Because it's just like this, it's not conscious with Neptune and Uranus. These are both subconscious planets. Saturn makes it more conscious, but this is when they conjunct next February, Neptune and Saturn. They got really close, but they didn't exactly touch, and they're going to in February. And again, everybody who's super stressed out because of this energy is going to be super stressed out because of this energy. And so I just like logically think that there is a strong possibility that either reality or the overwhelm of like, I can't do this anymore is going to hit. The one thing that would mitigate that is the fact that he has the transiting North Node in the 6th house, which is good for day-to-day work and it's good for health. Also, maybe not relevant to him, but the transiting North Node in the 6th house will make you fat. You just like good health, right? But also enthusiasm with your diet and eating if you're not careful about it. Okay, but that's not really the point. Oh, also, Jupiter in the 10th house doesn't hurt either, but Jupiter gives you opportunities. Jupiter doesn't give you like, oh, I'm going to keep everything the same and everything's going to be great. Jupiter likes to expand. So if you're possibly retiring from being a football player, then maybe you could be a commentator, or your podcast is going really well, or you have sponsorship deals, or, you know, something, but not status quo. But what have we here? So Saturn moves on to oppose Sun and Mars in his 1st house from his 7th house. Okay. Now, Saturn is the ruler of the 5th house. Doesn't make this as depressing as it would be otherwise if it ruled a different house. So it's not exactly the end of the world, but and Saturn confers commitment, definitely. But would I want to get married or be a newlywed with Saturn opposing my sun Mars? That's just a rhetorical question, I suppose. And then while Saturn's doing that, it's also squaring Jupiter in the 10th house, which rules the 4th house. So public persona and then also private self. And then Saturn would be squaring Saturn, which rules the 5th house. Okay, so that's love and possibly children. And then Saturn squares the ruler of the 7th house, Neptune. From the 7th house, do you see why I'm kind of scratching my head at this. Like, when I did the video about Taylor Swift having gangbusters energy, or maybe I just wrote about it. I'm sorry. I too have the Saturn Neptune conjunction strong in my chart right now. Um, I have a dim memory of things that I did for fun this year, but yeah, like Taylor Swift had gangbusters energy for getting engaged. I'm scratching my head because I'm not seeing things that I would want to see and be excited about. Like, ask yourself, would you want to get married with Neptune and Saturn in your 7th house? That combination. These are planets that notoriously don't get along. They're the antithesis of each other. Saturn is reality and Neptune is unreality, so you can stress yourself out to an extreme by being alternately confused, overwhelmed by that confusion, and then overwhelmed by the reality of a situation. I just don't know that that's what I would want. You know what I mean? Jupiter over here in the house of friends and friend groups. North Node over here in health and daily reality. Pluto not really doing much of anything for a little while, which is fine. We all need a break from Pluto. Uranus over here not really doing much of anything. Where is it? There's... Yeah, Chiron actually, if I go back to present day and then forward a little bit, Chiron forms a yod between Venus and Mercury. So that's not awesome. I hope that no one gets married with this situation that happens in spring of this, which the vertex isn't a planet, the transiting descendant isn't a planet, but Saturn and Neptune and Mars and Mercury together. Please don't. Please. So, yeah, I suppose Jupiter in the 10th house, like that is good for things like changing your social standing to getting married. But guys, I don't see a lot, and I'm scrolling forward in time, that I'm super excited about for this man, where I should see a little bit more that I'm super excited about. So here, we're in 2027 now. The best aspect that I'm seeing, and it takes till 2027 for me to see something that I'm excited about, and this is my second time doing this today, so I've checked, would be this trine from Uranus in the 9th house to 1st house Mars. So that's the 8th house, the 6th house, and then, of course, it involves the 1st house. Then it moves on to the sun, which rules the 12th house. Again, I'm just asking, like, what does this scream to you? Rhetorical question. Also, I don't want to get in trouble, in legal trouble. Not that anybody cares what I have to say, but, like, look, we're in 2027. Neptune's in the 7th house still. Neptune takes forever to do anything in anybody's chart, but now Saturn's in the 8th house. Do we like Saturn in the 8th house? Like, the 8th house is sex and shared finances and taxes and taboo matters. So, oh, and also other people's money. So your significant other, when a normal person has Saturn in the 8th house, and meaning like non-celebrity, you would expect to either have difficulty or less, because Saturn is a constricting force. I don't know about famous people. I can't imagine what their life is like. I'm not really going to try. But we're in 2027. The strongest transit is the Uranus to Mars, and then also the North Node's in the 5th house, which can be good for creativity, play, sex, babies. Pluto would be drastic change from that standpoint if it was making an active transit, especially, which it's not. So I'm just asking the question, or multiple questions, of like, what's going on? Like, there were good transits, there was good activity, and I'm not saying that this man is screwed. I'm not looking at progressions. But what I am saying is that the transits turn challenging. There were already some challenging transits, but now it looks challenging and stressful. And I don't know his life. We're back at present day. Sorry, I'm jumping around. I don't have a conclusion. I'm just curious. So I thought I would share that. Talk to you next time.